I'm stretching my face.
Sure, it's the same
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Michael here, and welcome back to another FudgeMuppet Fallout 4 build. Today's installment is the Chinese-based build many of you seem to be clanging after. I am speaking, of course, about the Communist Spy. But why is this video so short? Well, let's talk about that. In a nutshell, we've cut out the overwhelming majority of the perks section. We're still going to show you what perks to get, but we're not going to explain what every single perk rank does. Reason being, it's incredibly time consuming for us and for you, and it's damaging the success of these build videos. Once our videos get to part 2, people tend to click off them and skip straight to their endgame special stats. We obviously expected that after a long time everyone would understand all the perk ranks themselves, and now it seems that we were right. So while it was useful half a year ago, that's no longer the case. If you've forgotten what any of the perk ranks do, be sure to Google it, and with that explained, let's get into this Communist Spy. The Communist Spy is a master of stealth, firearms, blades, and is generally well versed in all manners of combat, from strategy to physical application. A close-range powerhouse with a slick silence pistol and a Chinese officer's sword by her side, you will encounter very few who can truly challenge you. This sword will not only be used due to the Communist Spy's proficiency with blades, but also to minimize sound and conserve pistol ammunition. Silence is golden, and this goddess of stealth is worth 24 carats. This build will also be able to gun down multiple targets with incredibly rapid succession, rarely shying away from potential bloodshed. With a decent reliance on VATS, strap yourself in for copious amounts of melee slaughter and surgical precision shooting. The overall playstyle is extremely fun with an awesome, highly stylistic aesthetic. Reminiscent of a ninja, which we are well aware is Japanese and not Chinese, but this build is definitely a callback to our Fallout New Vegas ninja build. To see all the guides we made that you'll need for this build, check the links in the description, and keep an eye out for our new skit coming out soon, or just wonder about our channel to fill that empty void in your soul that you'll never be quite able to fill emotionally. Follow us on Snapchat and Twitter to keep up with us instead of the Kardashians, throw us a question or two, make sure someone's remembered to water our bodies instead of leaving us sun-withered dead by the window, or just to catch a glimpse of our personal lives along with some other behind-the-scenes content. Let's get to it then. Born in the heart of mainland China amongst the sprawling metropolis of Beijing, the Communist Spy grew up to experience the full spectrum of wealth and poverty. As the youngest of a large family that struggled to feed itself, she applied herself in school before being sent away to an elite wushu academy on a scholarship. It was there that the Communist Spy was faced with the obstacle of balancing her academic career as well as her athletic career in an unforgiving environment that did not accept failure and would not hesitate even for a second to discard her. In the event failure was imminent, she would effectively be sent back to a life of nothingness. Through much hardship and discipline, in time, the Communist Spy adapted to the needs of her circumstance. It became quite evident to her instructors and the institution's administrators that she was a rare talent. While you'd expect that word of her existence would travel fast, no one expected that she would soon be recruited by the government as an intelligence operative. No one would know about it anyway. While her aptitude to collect intelligence had been well proven, her superiors recognized she was best suited for the role of cleaner, an official agency executioner who would not only carry out the sanctioned and non-sanctioned hits of state enemies, but also decommission compromised agents of their own. As her intelligence career progressed, the Communist Spy unsurprisingly ascended through the ranks at breakneck speeds. Her reputation in the agency was one to be feared, her name and capabilities soon becoming synonymous with certain death. Throughout it all, she was both honored and content with serving the motherland. Tensions rose and escalated into military actions between the US and China. The competition for the remaining oil reserves grew fierce. As several US-born Chinese operatives were activated, the Communist Spy was sent to Boston under the guise of being affiliated with a diplomatic group in order to oversee and supervise the US-based operations. Her objective was predominantly surveillance, though if prompted to kill, she personally would carry out the order rather than delegate to another field agent. To extinguish all flames of suspicion, the Communist Spy ensured her cover was airtight by fully immersing herself into an entirely different life. She accomplished this by marrying an American patriot and decorated veteran, eventually starting a family. While the initial intent of the cover was built on the foundation of deception, she truly cared for a child which many from the agency deemed a liability. For several years, forces beyond her control rendered her inactive in a field operative capacity and simply made her a purveyor of transnational affairs. With the invasion of Alaska, the counter-invasion attacks being mounted in China, and even the deployment of biological weapons, the communist spy ended up desperately attempting to maintain the peace rather than disrupting it. She had her child in mind. Somewhat weakened by field inactivity and softened by motherhood, her edges began to dull, and the communist spy soon found herself less like the hardened government assassin she once was, and more human. When the bombs fell, she was rushed to the vault, and I don't even need to explain what happens next. When she awakens in the vault, her first instinct turns towards the absence of her son. The memory of him being labeled a liability by her superiors remained in the back of her mind, however she wasn't sure if that even mattered now. She didn't know if the agency even existed anymore. Like any loving mother in an apocalypse who just lost her son, the communist spy bravely departs into the new world to track down Sean. Clearly not within her physical or mental prime, she finds the hostile wasteland to be quite confronting in its entirety. Throughout her travels on the long and arduous road towards Sean, she will keep her eyes and ears vigilant for any news related to her homeland. With the usual information networks down and the extent of damage inflicted to what seems like the whole world, the communist spy finds herself in the unfamiliar situation of lacking knowledge. In terms of role-playing, she'll be quite detached and neutral. While she will be fairly helpful in conversation, it will ultimately be for the purpose of self-interest, only occasionally lending a helping hand on the promise of a reward. The communist spy will side with the railroad to begin with, obtaining the deliverer pistol in doing so. The railroad complements her skill set, their relationship being symbiotic in advancing their respective standing in the world. The railroad utilizing her as a spy, and the communist spy herself familiarizing herself with and adapting to the wasteland. Over time, she returns to her peak form, recovering the edge and instinct that was lost in idleness all those years ago. This will lead to her discovering the Institute. It is once she finds the Institute that she will join their ranks and eventually assume control, appointing herself as the director. The communist spy undertakes such actions in pursuit of self-preservation, while simultaneously amassing power should China ever contact her again. She could also repurpose the technology the Institute possesses to attempt to make contact with them herself. With the start game special stats, you'll want to have 7 strength, 1 perception, 3 endurance, 1 charisma, 5 intelligence, 10 agility, and 1 luck. The special book in Sanctuary will be used on strength, bringing it to 8. This will later be brought up to a 9 after getting the bobblehead, which will allow you to gain access to the Rooted perk. The strength and agility stats will be reflective of the communist spy's past as an elite athlete first and a government assassin second. This of course will also play into your combat prowess in the game. The strength itself will enhance your melee damage, as well as elevating your carry weight for all those extra bits of apparel that you just gotta have. The agility will open up the doors for some fun VATS action, as well as providing for all those useful stealth perks. While the endurance for this build is nothing spectacular, it will be enough to sustain your character if you do happen to be forced into a quick outright skirmish. This decline in comparison to the strength and agility stats are a consequence of being uninvolved with gritty action for so many years. With an acceptable amount of intelligence, you'll level up at a steady pace and be able to access perks like Hacker. Now moving into the brief perks section, you can see everything you need on screen. If you need to pause the video and screenshot it, then definitely be sure to do that. There's all the perks from level 1 to level 50, with the main ones obviously being Blitz, Ninja, Sneak, Gunslinger, Big Leagues, Mr. Sandman, and Action Girl. Sneak will obviously keep you hidden, and Ninja and Mr. Sandman will help you with all your sneak attack multipliers based on ranged and melee damage as well as silenced weapon damage. Obviously this build uses a pistol and a sword, hence Gunslinger and Big Leagues are picked to increase damage for those weapons. Blitz will enhance your melee even more and allow you to strike from the shadows over a long distance as to avoid taking damage and being seen. You'll have plenty of VATS usage and also the Gunfu perk to enhance your pistol effectiveness. This increases damage against multiple targets, shooting in succession of course. Action Girl will enhance the VATS usage of this build for both melee and ranged combat, as your action points will regenerate much faster, and obviously with this in mind you can sprint around and be a faster character a lot easier. Obviously with the perks we do have a lot of endurance investment, and this will represent the communist spy becoming tougher and tougher over time as she gets used to enduring the wasteland. It will also put you in an endgame scenario where you're not going to be as frail, so if you want to muck around and have fun without all the stealth, which you should be using, you can. Not including gear, but including bobbleheads, the communist spy should end up with 9 strength, 2 perception, 9 endurance, 2 charisma, 6 intelligence, 11 agility, and 2 luck. A master of disguise, the communist spy will always have a combat outfit for functionality and a civilian outfit to blend in with the general populace. While she may be very capable of taking her enemies down, remember that the element of surprise is always a good asset to have, and how much more surprise can an unsuspecting enemy get from being cut down by a civilian? Be sure to always wear your civilian outfit in openly public areas such as Diamond City and Good Neighbor. We personally recommend the laundered green dress, but your civilian outfit may comprise of anything inconspicuous and non-threatening. Your combat outfit will be whatever you most prefer in the heat of battle. Outfits that have hoods or cover your face are preferable. This will be until you can get yourself the marine wetsuit and tactical marine helmet, which, let's be honest, looks fucking mint. You can get this in the Far Harbor DLC, and remember, we have guides in the description on how to get everything you need. In terms of your weaponry, you may use all sorts of pistols and melee weapons that are available at the start, but just be sure to get your hands on a Chinese officer's sword when possible, and the unique pistol known as the Deliverer for maximum roleplay and aesthetic value. You'll find yourself mainly using melee weapons in the early game, as you will not have access to a silenced pistol until later. It's also worth reiterating that your weapons of choice should revolve around stealth. Later on in the game, you will be able to buy Chinese officer's sword that comes serrated, such as General Chao's Revenge. You will also be able to swap out modifications to give it an electric charge if you're metal enough. This spy will not make use of any companions as they conflict with her stealth. That said, the communist spy may use companions such as Deacon to max out his affinity in order to unlock his stealth-based perk. This would be while working with the railroad, of course, to find the Institute. Aside from that, this is one fight you need to go alone. This build will not make use of any settlements. The communist spy will use faction bases like the Institute HQ as her base. And that concludes another FudgeMuppet Fallout 4 build. Tune in the week after next for another homemade, straight from the oven, cinnamon in the dough role-playing experience. We've definitely got other fun content like confirmed cheeky skits slated to be released in the coming days. Follow us on social media because, well, you can, and why wouldn't you? Have you met us? We're delightful. As always, I'm Michael, and I'll see you next time.